Welcome back, everybody, to Niners Now. I'm your host, Brady Grustas, at GrustasBrady on X. You can follow me there. And today I want to go over my ranking of the top 5 games of the Kyle Shanahan era, starting in 2017. Before we begin, go ahead and subscribe down below, leave a like, leave a comment, and let's get into it. So by the best games, I don't mean the most dominant blowouts or the best performances by the 49ers. That's a whole other category, right? That would include games like the Raheem Mostert 4-touchdown NFC Championship performance versus the Packers, right? The 2023 revenge game in Philadelphia where Deebo Samuel went off. The 51-point outing in Carolina in 2019 where Nick Bosa got an interception and Tevin Coleman had a million touchdowns, or I think it was 4. But this list is not going to be that. This list is going to be the most entertaining, competitive, exciting games since the 2017 season when Kyle Shanahan was hired. I'll be including regular season and playoff games in my consideration here. And one more thing, probably not going to be including many losses on this list. Sure, there have been some really exciting games that the Niners did not end up winning, but this is going to be a positive show, all right? I don't need to think about Super Bowl 54 or 58 ever again. Now, to start out this list, I've got a couple of honorable mentions, all right? These were both great games, but just not quite good enough to crack the top 5. My first game is Week 16 of the 2017 season, where the 49ers beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 44-33. This was the year that the Jaguars made it all the way to the AFC Championship game with a really top defense and an underrated offense with rookie Leonard Fournette. On the other side, the Niners were in year 1 of the Shanahan era, and they had just traded for one Jimmy Garoppolo. The Niners were on a 3-game win streak heading into this game, but the Jaguars were easily their toughest opponent yet. And Garoppolo put 44 points on the best defense in football. The amount of hope that this game injected into my veins cannot be overstated. It was real ugly, not only pre-Shanahan, but in that first year of the Shanahan era. They lost, their first 9 games? And it wasn't like this was just some blowout either. There were 5 touchdowns in the fourth quarter of this game alone. The Jaguars made it a 1-score game with under 2 minutes to go before Matt Breida scored on a 30-yard run to essentially end it. That was the dagger. Remember Matt Breida? What a great player for the Niners for a few years there. It's been a while since 2017, so I feel like we sort of forget the context around this game, how bad the Niners were leading up to the game, and how exciting they really were when this win streak was happening. The Niners needed hope, and this game epitomizes that hope. My second honorable mention, and my last one before we get into the rankings, was the 2021 divisional round matchup between the 49ers and the Packers, where the Niners shocked the world and took down number 1 overall seed Green Bay 13-10. Oh man, it pained me to leave this one off the top 5. It pained me. 2021 was an absolutely wild season, if you don't remember. There were extremely high highs and extremely low lows. But this is the only game, besides the Super Bowl, that has ever made me cry. The Packers were the number 1 seed in the NFC, like I mentioned. They were a dominant 13-4 squad led by MVP and first-team All-Pro quarterback Aaron Rodgers. They earned the bye week in the playoffs, and the red-hot 49ers took full advantage. This was an ugly, snowy defensive slugfest. The Niners offense did not score a single touchdown all game, but the defense held Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams to only 10 points. 10 points for this offense, basically unheard of. The Packers scored a touchdown on their opening drive, and they only had 3 points the entire rest of the game. This game is likely known for one play. Jordan Willis blocks a fourth quarter Packers punt, and the rookie Talanoa Hufanga picks up the ball and scores the Niners' only touchdown of the game on special teams. A special teams touchdown for the 49ers. It is like seeing a polar bear in the desert. I still remember exactly where I was when that play happened. I was on FaceTime with my girlfriend. I dropped the phone on the floor and screamed, interrupting her sentence completely. If you're watching, I'm still very sorry about that. That was an unreal play. But to me, what I will always remember when I think about this game, it's that play, and there's 2 more. The other one is 3rd and 8. Packers' 38-yard line. Not an easy field goal if you don't convert by any means, especially considering it was really coming down. The snow, was really coming down. And if the Niners offense didn't convert, they'd be giving the Packers the ball with roughly 30 seconds to go. So what do? On 3rd and 8, they hand the ball off to one of the best players I've ever seen, 2021 Deebo Samuel. And they run the ball with a wide receiver on 3rd and long in the 4th quarter of the playoffs on the road. And it worked. Deebo picks up the first down. The 49ers chewed a little bit more clock. And my glorious king, Robbie Gould, nails the game-winning field goal with 0 seconds left on the clock. And I am not ashamed to admit, I did cry. When that field goal went through the uprights, I cried. The cinematics of this game were top notch, right? You think about those 3 moments. The Talanoa Hufanga touchdown, Deebo picking up that 3rd and 8, and Robbie Gould hitting the game-winning field goal. It's incredible. It goes toe-to-toe with any of these games, any of the rest of these games, I should say, on this list. But we got to remember, there were 3 quarters of straight-up disgusting football to get to the end of this game. All of those moments that I mentioned happened in the 4th quarter, and the first 3 were ugly. So unfortunately, I can't justify putting this one on the list in the top 5. Speaking of our list, let's get to number 5, all right? Number 5 is 2019, all right? Week 16 versus the Rams. Or as I like to call it, this is the Jimmy 316 game. The 49ers were down by multiple scores twice in this game, but both times they were able to claw their way back into it. The Niners were competing for the number 1 seed in the NFC, and the Rams were fighting to stay in the playoffs. But a Fred Warner pick 6 right before halftime and some late game heroics were enough to knock Sean McVay and the Rams out of the playoff hunt for good. Now, those heroics that I mentioned came on the last drive of the game, tied 31-31. Jimmy Garoppolo, after a sack, converts a 3rd and 16 on a sweet pass to Kendrick Bourne. But 2 plays later, he was sacked again. With under a minute left to play, Jimmy converted another 3rd and 16, this time to Emmanuel Sanders. That left the Niners with just enough time to center the ball and let Robbie Gould drill a game-winning field goal with 0 seconds left on the clock yet again. This game was competitive, back-and-forth action late in the season with real playoff implications between 2 division rivals. It just does not get better than that. Jimmy 316 was born that day, and this game was pivotal in securing the number 1 seed in that 2019 season. The number 4 game on my list was actually the very next week, 2019 Week 17, Sunday Night Football, the final game of the 2019 regular season. 49ers Seahawks in Seattle. The Seahawks actually beat the Niners earlier that year, so the winner of this game would earn the number 1 seed, and the loser would be demoted to the 5 seed. You do not get games like this with this amount of stakes very often in the last week of the season on Sunday Night Football. This was a gem. The Niners were up 2 scores early, but Seattle just wouldn't go away. And a score by the recently unretired Marshawn Lynch gave the Seahawks the lead in the 4th quarter. The Niners answer with a score from Raheem Mostert, but Seattle brought it back to a 1-score game with a DK Metcalf touchdown. The 49ers, with the chance to end the ball game, get an unnecessary roughness penalty, and because of that, they ended up 1 yard short of the first down on a Raheem Mostert dump-off pass. They go 3 and out, and Seattle gets the ball with 2.5 minutes to play. It is officially looking scary for the Niners. Russell Wilson marches down the field and converts a 4th and 10, bringing the ball all the way to the 49ers' 1 yard line. No timeouts, 1 yard to go for Seattle. They get a delay of game penalty, though, which pushes them back a few yards. And on the final play of the game, Jacob Hollister, the tight end, catches the ball and is brought down inches short of the goal line by rookie linebacker Dre Greenlaw. The This game is ridiculously iconic, and it just had to be included in my top 5. It put Dre Greenlaw on the map, it ended Russell Wilson's reign of terror over the 49ers, and it catapulted this team all the way to the Super Bowl by securing that 1 seed. It's crazy that this game is all the way down at number 5, but some of the games we have yet to talk about are unreal. There's only 3 games, this one was number 4. It's crazy even still that this game was all the way down at number 4. Let me correct myself. Like I said, there's only 3 games to go. Which matchup do you think is going to be number 1? Let me know in the comments down below. At number 3, I'm going to go with the first Week 18 game in 49ers history. That's 2021 Week 18 versus the LA Rams. Like I mentioned before, that 2021 season, absolute roller coaster, and this game was essentially a playoff game. You win or you go home. The Rams would go on to win the division regardless of the outcome of this game, but they were fighting for playoff seeding, and they were looking hot early as they went up 17-0 in SoFi Stadium. It looked like this game and the season for the 49ers was over. But the Niners were able to grab 3 points right before halftime, and in the third quarter, they stormed back to tie the game at 17. But in the fourth quarter, Jimmy G threw an interception to Jalen Ramsey, and the Rams scored a touchdown on the very next drive. Down 7, the Niners went 88 yards in 5 plays, ending the drive with a touchdown from Jawan Jennings with less than 30 seconds to go, and the game headed to overtime. The Niners offense got the ball first in overtime, but stalled on the Rams' 6-yard line, 6 yards away from a touchdown, and they could not get it, had to settle for a field goal. But while he was covering Odell Beckham Jr., the rookie cornerback Ambry Thomas came up with the play of his life, a game-sealing interception on Matt Stafford to send the Niners all the way to the playoffs. 49ers 27, Rams 24. To me, this game was the perfect representation of the 2021 season. Backs against the wall, absolutely had to win every single game to survive. They were down early thanks to some self-inflicted wounds, but the team battled back and they got it done. That was the number 3 game, and it's really hard to top that one. But for number 2, I've got week 14 of the 2019 season, 49ers versus Saints. This game was no doubt a contender for the top spot. I don't know if you guys remember this game, but it was unbelievable. These two teams were in a fierce competition for that number 1 seed in the NFC. And if I remember correctly, this was the first time ever that 2 teams with over 10 wins played each other this late in the regular season. It was an extremely important game for playoff seeding. Oh yeah, and the final score, 48-46. I watched the highlights of this game regularly because it was a duel. Drew Brees went for 349 yards with 5 touchdowns and no picks. Jimmy G also threw for 349 yards, it's a fun fact, but he had 4 touchdowns and an interception. Emmanuel Sanders threw a touchdown to Raheem Mostert on a wild trick play, and he also caught 7 passes for over 150 yards and a score himself. Michael Thomas dominated in his record-breaking year, and George Kittle went George Kittle mode. On the final drive of the game, with under 1 minute to go, Kittle started off the drive with an 8-yard catch, and he would be the only player to catch a pass on that final drive. 2 incompletions meant that it was 4th and 2 in 49ers territory, down by 1 with under 40 seconds to go. Kittle runs a crisp out route, catches the ball, and drags 3 Saints defenders who are yanking at his face mask and pulling him down as hard as they can. He drags all 3 of them 39 yards downfield in perfect position for Robbie Gould to hit the game-winning field goal. This game had trick plays, tons of scoring, iconic moments, and some really good defense as well, which you would not guess based on the final score. Now, folks, at long last, it's number 1. The best game of the Shanahan era is the 2023 NFC Championship, when the 49ers defeated the Lions 34-31. To me, this is no doubt the best comeback of the Kyle Shanahan era, especially when you consider the context. All that anyone would tell you about Kyle Shanahan, even still to this day after this game, which is ridiculous, is that he's a choker. His teams can't play from behind. He blows leads, he loses big games, and he's not clutch. Brock Purdy was a front runner he can't even play well when his team is tied with their opponent, much less when he's trailing. His arm is too small, he's a system quarterback, he's a product of his teammates. But when push came to shove, and the 49ers were down 24-7 at halftime of the NFC Championship game at home, none of that mattered. The 49ers had 6 drives in the second half of that game. 5 of them were scores, and the last one was a kneel down. The Lions had 5 drives in that half, and they only came away with 1 touchdown. The Niners scored 27 unanswered points in that second half, spurred on by one of the most improbable catches I have ever seen a 49er make. Brandon Ayuk's lucky ladybug catch, or as I like to call it, the catch 4. Yeah, I said it. If you haven't heard, the 49ers have this series of catches in their storied history, starting, of course, with Dwight Clark's The Catch against the Cowboys from Joe Montana. And then Terrell Owens had the catch 2 versus the Green Bay Packers in the wild card round. And Vernon Davis had the catch 3 versus the Saints in the divisional. And this catch by Ayuk was absolutely in that tier of legendary playoff moments. I do not know if words can accurately describe it. But when Brandon Ayuk caught that bomb inside the Niners' 10-yard line after a clear pass interference penalty and a bobble by the cornerback, everything changed in an instant. I stood up out of my chair because you could feel it in the air that the momentum had switched. I will not ever forget that feeling. That wasn't the only sweet moment though. Brock made some unreal plays with his legs. The defense forced key fumbles, and Dan Campbell kept going for it on 4th down. And despite that absurd comeback, this game was still close until the very, very end. The Lions scored a touchdown late in the game to bring it to a 1-score game. But they used a timeout. So once George Kittle recovered the onside kick, the game was pretty much over. If they hadn't used that timeout, man, this whole outcome could be completely different. The Lions could be Super Bowl champions for all we know. I'm sure you can tell by the way that I talk about this game. It was absolutely special, and I encourage anyone to go back and watch that game. This one it had to be number 1 for me. Those are my top 5 most entertaining games of the Kyle Shanahan era. Let me know if you think I'm on the money or if I got it totally wrong. Should the Saints game have been number 1 or the Dre Greenlaw Seahawks game winner? Are there any that I missed completely that didn't even make it into honorable mentions? Let me know down below in the comments. And of course, let me know if you enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment, leave a like, and let me know if there's any topics you'd like to see me cover. Thanks all for watching, and subscribe for 49ers videos 5 days a week. I'm Brady Grustas at GrustasBrady on X. This has been Niners Now, and I'll see you tomorrow.